Hey guys, it's Ben. I'm going to do a quick demonstration on how I use these, come up with these harmonic ranges for price targets. And I've never walked through this with anybody before, so I'm going to try to explain it as orderly and coherently as I possibly can. But so I'll hide this traditional fib retrace, and so what I'm doing is I'm using a fib retrace tool, and it's configured with these harmonic ranges, so 0.125 and increments of 0.125 all the way up through 1, and then we find like a base level to start with, can either be a high or a low, and then I use the next area of support, and I bring that into a Google sheet and calculate the total range. So you have to calculate using an angle that's a division of 360 by 2 or 3, and you find the best fit that matches your range, and and then you calculate the upper end for the fib retrace. So I'll walk through that, and the method comes from Michael Jenkins, a video on how I trade stocks and options, and these videos are fantastic. I've watched all of them, and I've come back to them a number of times. He doesn't give you the complete answer in most of this, but you'll get some very good ideas and some demonstrations on how to apply some of his techniques. But so looking at this, how I trade stocks and options, the two areas of this video that you can focus on are, around the 28-minute mark is how he anchors his harmonic range using the same fib retrace tool, and then around like 14 minutes in, he's got this come on YouTube, he's got this table with the divisions of 360 by 2 and 3, and so these are all of the angles that we're looking for, and you're looking for instances in which the range of price that you're working with is a close match to these. So I cheat a little bit, and I put this into a Google sheet, and I've got all of those angles that are divisions of 360 by 2 by 3 by both of them, like so it's the number in between them. I multiply them by 10, I divide them by 10, divide by 100, divide by 1,000, and then I just use a basic index and match formula to find the best fit. So in this case, started with the S&P from the February low, and using closing price only, and then the first area of support resistance, and the difference between those is a range of 474. And then the match formula goes through, and it looks through this, all of these possibilities, and it comes back with 450 as the closest match, and then applying 450 to, so using 450 times 9 and adding it to the low gives us an upper target, of the complete range of this movement to potentially be 9,032.78. So it's not a forecast to get to 932.78, but it's to find the areas of interest, the levels of interest in between the starting point and that upper range. So when I look for price, he's using closing price only, and so a few ways you can do this. I'm looking at the low that I'm anchoring from. You can take your first swing high where it reversed, and in this case that's the 4,556.89 that I'm plugging into the Google sheet. So that's our first area of resistance in the movement of price off of this low. And you could use, if you wanted a tighter range, we could use, say, we could start with 5,158.19, and that would give us a maximum target of 65.32. And so if we hide the other one, we can see that we did have some movement come in and respect this range as well, right? So you get your reversal. These green areas are the 1, 2. In the green, I've got the 2.5 and the 3.75. This is typically an area where I would see some resistance in a reversal, and so price navigates this pretty well. And then we get up above it, come back and retest. Now we know that the range has been exceeded, and we need to have a new anchor point. you can also use, the prior, like this would be the B in your ABC correction. So we could try 55, 21, 53. We could try 5776. So eventually, you just keep expanding off of these until you have a new level of interest or a new area to anchor off of. So let's try it with do this on the S&P, but I've done it with a number of different assets and price ranges. So we've got Bitcoin, and I've got a lot of drawings on here, but I've got this anchor point going, or these harmonic ranges going all the way from the 2022 low, and I've got the full one that takes us up to a total of 280,000, and you can see that we've got a lot of respect for these levels as it's navigated through. But then I've also divided it into eighths, so we've got the kind of like a sub-harmonic level, and that seems to be where we see price find support and resistance pretty consistently, for the last 3 years. Why don't we try? We'll try just a quick example with one that I haven't charted. So I'm going to use. See if anything comes up on these today. So I'm using an advanced scan for conditions where we've got a point and figure reversal and a bullish engulfing candle, and enough volume for there to be strong liquidity. And sometimes you get one or two of these. Today there's none. Let's try Bollinger Band, Keltner Squeeze with a point and figure reversal or a bullish engulfing. And so we've only got one. This is EIG. I don't think I've charted EIG before. All right, so there's EIG, and it's got a bullish RSI regime. You've got rising ADX, so that's pretty interesting looking. Take a look at our moving averages. So 65-week moving average, and we've got a 65-week moving average is turned upward. It's about to get back above its 10-period moving average, and prices come up and found support there and is rising above it. So this pretty decent looking recovery, and I always like to throw in an anchored VWAP. So VWAP from the high, and we're just now breaking above that. So I like VWAPs more than static fixed and descending angles, but you kind of look for the break above both. So that looks interesting to me. And let's use so now let's grab our price levels. So we're going to start with we'll start from the low. We'll use this first area of resistance, and so you've got 3609 and 3953. And that gives us a total, maximum for the Fib retrace tool of 6647. And let's see how that looks. So, this is the first level that we've calculated. So of course we would expect to see price run into a little resistance at it, and then this is a pretty good sign that we've got price butting up against 4370 and then breaking above, retesting. So this looks like it's probably going to be a pretty decent range. So if I was to forecast this with traditional method, I might take here's the height of the base and apply that to with the height of the base. Let's look at the volume profile. Here's the area of density and the volume profile. So once we get above that, the point of control and the volume profile, this would give us like a proportional forecast. I would say it's above this green range, which is the 0.25 and 0.375, where we would typically see resistance and reversal. So if setting a trade here, I would probably target, that green area first, and then set my stop. I like the stop to be below, below the. Get rid of the drawing tool, the proportional measure for now. But so when I set my stop on these, and my take profit would would be around this 55 level. The ATR for the stock is about 80 cents, and so I probably want to come in like 80 cents below 43.70. So if we get one full ATR below 43.70, would be 42. Call it like 42. I'll do like 42.77, right? So actually, maybe even below the point of control. So if we got about that far below the prior support level, I would consider that to be a failure and a reversal, and we'd want to either exit or start over. So this gives us a 2-to-1 risk reward for potential of a 19% move, and or an 8% loss. So it looks pretty good. But anyways, that's how I do the harmonic ranges manually. I think these are a good discretionary forecasting tool to use with some more static screening and like systematic screening and rules-based identification. Like so if I'm looking for something that's in a positive RSI regime with rising ADX, that's very systematic. My stop is very structured and systematic. I'm not going to expose myself to more than 8% loss on this, and then I've got a discretionary process for defining the high end of my target. So I hope that's helpful, and if anybody has questions, please let me know.